How's it, everyone? I know a lot of you are playing Lightning Strike this league. Some of you may have feeling like you're a bit squishy. I've played Lightning Strike a ton in the past over the years. I wanted to give some insights into what could be happening. I'm not doing this to like rip on the most popular version of the build. It's more just, like I said, I've played this a lot. This build does not have to be squishy. There's this weird misconception, oh, Lightning Strike is squishy until you get XYZ. That's not true. You can make this thing very nice and tanky. So this is Fob Gun's build. Again, I'm not like trying to rip on anyone. This is actually very similar to the build that I popularized like more than 7 months ago. So it's very, very similar. The whole Svalinn tech, I introduced that in early August, and now that seems to be the standard. But I'm noticing a lot of mistakes that are happening before you get to the Svalinn. So a lot of people think they just keep dying. And looking at the POB, I can see why, right? So when I open this up, one of the problems that is immediately obvious is just the Fizz max hit is not very high. Damage is excellent. Damage is really, really good, but Fizz max hit is very low. And in this POB, we had Steel Skin checked. This, I wouldn't say is reliable enough to have permanently up, to have it checked. Also, another thing I noticed, Endurance Charge was checked, but I'm not seeing an Endurance Charge generation other than Claws of the Magpie, Chance to Steal, Power, Frenzy, Endurance Charges. I'm not seeing where are the Endurance Charges coming from. It might be something I'm just missing, but is it like on the cluster? I'm not seeing it there. So yeah, I don't know where these endurance charges are coming from. So unless I miss it, let me know, but I'm gonna put it off. Also, like I said, Steel Skin off. And then you can see this is the problem, right? The Fizz max hit is under 6k. So if you are not super deep into the endgame and you're playing this version of the build, this is why you're feeling squishy. It's because your max hit is very, very low. You've got a decent amount of life, but there's no mitigation behind it. Also, the avoidance layer on this current version is fairly limited. You don't have a high amount of block yet. Your evasion rating is a little bit low. So I don't feel like it's enough, but don't worry, there is a solution. Also, I'm going to take this out. This jewel seems a little bit too good for a starter POB, but let's just pop that up. So here is the same build that I have reworked, right? So on this version, without that jewel, it's sitting at about 3.5 million damage. Here's a reworked version, sitting at about 1.92 million. So we cut a huge amount of damage. However, you can see over here, the EHP is massively increased. And this is with very, very similar, if not cheaper gear than on this version. So this is like the starter version with a very, very budget gear. And this is effectively the same thing, just reworked, right? So less damage, but if you think about it, if you're constantly dying, your DPS is lower because a lot of the S's, the seconds, are spent respawning, running through the portal. So I'd rather go for consistent EHP and lower damage than super high damage glass cannon, because you actually end up just going slower. So over here you can see our Fizz max hit is now 12.6 thousand. This is with Steel Skin off. So with on, it's 17. Overall effective hit pool is 76,000. Over here it's 33. And I'm doing this primarily by just bolstering those Fizz mitigation layers. So on this version of the build, using Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is just so good. It has an incredibly high block chance. It has Fizz taken as fire. You can get one like this for extremely cheap. Apparently the Lycosidae prices were just through the roof. Lycosidae is really, it's good, but like if it's very expensive, I don't know if it's worth it. It's got a lower block chance. Hits can't be evaded is excellent. Really saves a lot of points, but over Dawnbreaker, I feel like Dawnbreaker takes the cake every day. You can see equipping that is just like way, way, way less. So nice chunk of armor, Fizz taken as, good block chance, all of that. Then Amulet. So on this version of the build, we have what is a very nice starter amulet. So good crit multi, good elemental damage with attack seals. However, I just feel like going with instead this little amulet, the Anvil. The Anvil is such a good good amulet, especially on this build. So this gives us very high increased chance to block. Block is an avoidance layer, so we got that. And then also massively important is life gained when you block. So life gain when you block is a huge recovery layer. It's kind of like a hybrid active passive recovery layer. So it's not the same as leech where you have to attack to get life back. If you have capped block chance, this feels so good. It also gives us a nice chunk of armor. Does have the downside though of reduced attack speed, but this damage on this budget is absolutely fine. Absolutely perfect. It's so good. And this is without the tincture on. With the tincture on, you're fine. This is plenty of damage. Another thing I've changed, so on this version, it seems like it's more of like a Ghost Dance ES version of the build, whereas on this I have instead, we're just going armor and evasion. So over here you can see we have about 28k armor, and we're getting that from over here. We're using, instead of, I think, grace, anger, and the other one, which was here, grace and anger. Instead, what we can use is anger, determination, and Tempest Shield. Tempest Shield is giving us a better chance to block spell damage. It also makes us immune to shock, which is a very nice defensive layer. Get rid of the quality on that. So Tempest Shield instead. And then instead of running evasion rating, you can go for Iron Reflexes. You can take this off. This gives you a much higher EHP. However, it drops your Fizz max hit. If you take Iron Reflexes, it means that you will be getting hit more often, but your Fizz mitigation will be much better. So this is, I suppose it's optional, but I do like it with this block chance, right? So evasion rating is an avoidance layer. On this version of the build, we can actually get our block chance, and this is with very budget gear. You don't need your Svalinn to get high block chance. You can get your block chance up to like 78, your normal attack block chance. Spell block chance is sitting at about 61. I actually want to just change this Anoint. So on the Anvil, I've allocated Safeguard, but I think because we need some endurance charge generation, I think what would be better to Anoint would be something like Inexorable. This is a little bit more expensive, so you can go like Inexorable, or you could go something like As the Mountain for like really good block chance, but we really do need that endurance charge generation. So another thing would be like Disciple of the Unyielding. This is endurance charge generation, very consistent for mapping, but for bossing it's not. However, I really like Inexorable. You can also go for the small Enduring Composure, the small cluster, but just to save points, we can just go with Inexorable. This works very well with a non-evasion based character. So if we do actually add that, pop that in, drops our spell block chance a bit, but this works well with Iron Reflexes. You will be getting hits, so you will have very consistent endurance charge generation. Going down this way, I'm just dropping this cluster. It is good damage, but the damage, like I said, is fine. If you're dying all the time, that's a frustrating thing. Another thing is over here, piercing shots. I've dropped these points. You can get double pierce on your gloves, so you can get from Eater of Worlds, you get projectiles pierce an additional target, and then just bench on another additional pierce. 2 pierces is plenty. It really is, especially with this version, the Blind Prophet with Return, it feels absolutely fine. So you can just get double pierce, save 3 points on the tree. But as for the rest of the gear, it's all pretty much identical to the other PoB. However, I've just gone armor and evasion rating since we're not doing like the Ghost Shroud stuff and all of that. And you can see like the EHP is more than doubled. The Fizz max hit is more than doubled. We have consistent endurance charge generation. All of that is all there. I promise you, if you swap over to a version more like this, at least while you're transitioning into the more endgame version of this, which like I said, it's a good build. It is really good. It's like got crazy damage, but Sealskin on is just like a bit scary if you're a newer player who might not be as experienced. You need to have like the preemptive defense. If you're a very skilled player who's good at like maneuvering and stuff, then you can maybe get away with like worse defenses. Another thing is putting in Blood Rage. You could pop this in. This is like another chunk of damage. However, it is going to drain your life. But I feel like with the Anvil and with the amount of leech we have, it should be absolutely fine. So consistent Frenzy Charge generation over there. Another thing you could do, if you wanted, you could maybe path down to Disciple of the Unyielding and then Anoint like Testudo or the spell block. But I think actually with capped spell suppression and 50% spell block, it should feel really fine. So another thing over here, Evasion Mastery, 50% chance to suppress spell damage, getting that so we can get actually properly spell block, spell suppression capped without having to worry about lucky. So I've taken this. So I've taken this on this version of the build because I swapped over to armor and evasion rating gear, whereas this version is a lot of energy shield to go with the ghost stance, which means that you're not actually using body armor, gloves, boots, and helmet with evasion rating. But on this version, you can use that, and then you can get that 15% spell suppression for 1 point, which is really big. Yeah, for folks who were playing this and maybe having a bit of a rough time and struggling a bit, give this version a shot. See how it feels. Like I said, this version is solid. This is, like I said, pretty much the same as the build that I popularized in early August. So I can vouch for this. It is really, really good. But there was that missing transition. So I'll link this PoB in the description for any of you who are interested. It will feel really good. And let me know if you've been playing this build, how has it been? I'm sure it has been really, really good. If you know what you're doing, Lightning Strike is just so good. But like if you may be a bit of a newer player and you're missing those defenses, then it's gonna be a little bit rough. I'm gonna, for the sake of the video, since the other PoB had it on, I'm gonna put it on. Sealskin on. There you go. More EHP. Anyway, if you have any other questions about Lightning Strike, you can ask in the comments below. You can also join my Discord. I am a Lightning Strike aficionado. It's my favorite skill. I've been playing it for years and years and years. So yeah, ask, see if we can help you out. I'm not even playing this build, but I saw people were struggling, so I wanted to help out. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Stay safe. I'll catch you in the next video, and bye-bye.